Hi, my name is Tom, and I was recently transplanted from Philadelphia to Seattle. I think I may have a congenital birth defect. Now, I realize that sounds a bit odd for a middle aged man to think that he has one, but it's the only theory I can come up with. I feel like I was born without a filter. Actually, that doesn't even fully explain it either. If a person has a filter, they think of a snappy comeback, consider the ramifications of saying it, and then use their discretion. For me, there isn't a moment of consideration between thinking something and saying it. I'm hearing what I'm thinking at the same time as my audience. For example, many years ago, I was giving a financial planning class in Culpsville, Pennsylvania. Culpsville is a tiny little farming town northwest of Philadelphia, population less than 10,000, and I'm explaining to the class the rule of 72. Now, if you've never heard of this cool mathematical device, it's a simplified way to determine how long an investment will take to double, given a fixed annual rate of interest. By dividing 72 by the annual rate of return, investors can get a rough estimate of how many years it'll take for their initial investment to duplicate itself. Anyway, as I'm explaining this concept to my 8 students, I'm trying to impress upon them the sheer simplicity of this method of determining the effects of compounding interest. And I say, without reviewing the words in my head first, this method is so simple that even people from Kansas can understand it. Now, I don't know why I said Kansas. I don't know anyone from Kansas. I've never even been there. But there it was, out of my mouth before I could even consider it. 2 of the 8 students raised their hand and announced that they are from Kansas. Now, what are the odds that a quarter of my students in this tiny farming village in Pennsylvania would be from a state that I've never visited more than 1,300 miles away? Mortified, I begin to apologize. I am terribly sorry. I had no idea you were from Kansas. I'll speak slower. What the just came out of my mouth? I was trying to apologize, and I hear a further insult pass my lips. 3/4 of my class erupted in laughter as my 2 Kansans picked up their things and unceremoniously left the room. More recently, I was in an HR class with all of the other managers for my organization. Now, I don't think it's a good idea for me to ever be in the same room as HR without first being heavily sedated. But our HR director was up there espousing that men and women can do the same job equally in technological fields. Okay, no argument there. But then she went on to say that we should therefore hire more women in IT in the name of diversity. Now, before I could even consider the stupidity and hypocrisy of what she just said, I could hear these words coming out of my mouth. Why? I began. If we are all equal, hiring more women would simply be a zero-sum game. How would you create diversity out of equality? The air was sucked out of the room as I stood there with only the grenade's pin in my hand. The gal from HR pretended that she didn't hear my question as she began writing something in a large file, presumably my personnel record. While my question was valid and my logic was sound, diversity speakers don't like to be challenged. My boss just looked at me like I had a booger hanging out of my nose and then just slowly shook his head. Again, I wasn't trying to be rude. In fact, I wasn't trying to be anything. It just popped out of my mouth without me knowing it was coming. In the book, The Knife of Never Letting Go, Patrick Ness writes, "The noise is a man unfiltered, and without a filter, a man is just chaos walking." Just like they announce dead man walking when a condemned man comes down the hallway, I think they should announce my arrival as chaos walking.